a lot is happening right now.
Amber Baker, the Malibu Medium, is on Intentional Living with Courtney Myers.
We're actually co-creating like a new level of existence.
Sharing her wisdom.
When you step into your power, you have to let go of a lot of things.
And showing us how to harness our divine light.
I'm just like stopping myself. Amber, wait, hold on. This is a podcast interview. But that in itself is powerful.
On an all-new Intentional Living with Courtney Myers. This is Intentional Living with Courtney Myers. Hi, Amber. Thank you for joining me. Welcome to Intentional Living with Courtney Myers. I am really, really honored and excited to talk to you today. My friend Erica introduced me to you, and she said you were mentoring her in the whole concept of Akashic readings. Now, I know a little bit about the psychic readings and mediumship, but I really want to dive into this idea of the Akashic records because I don't know much about that. But I think it is a really interesting topic that can help us shed light on a lot of the things that I talk about, which is living intentionally, living guided by our intuition, and learning to know who we are really on an authentic level. So what better source than to know what you are here for and what your soul purpose is, which I believe, which you can speak on, is kind of what our Akashic records share about us.
So, well, first of all, thank you so much for having me, Courtney. And yes, Erica is lovely. She is in my Soul Portal online group where I'm teaching people how to read the Akashic records for others. And so, yeah, so the Akashic records, it is a realm in consciousness. Our choices and actions anchored in our highest potential. So it doesn't just store our thoughts, choices, and actions from this lifetime, but from our past, present, and future selves. So our multidimensional self, the soul that we are across all dimensions, time, space. So when we access the Akashic records, we're able to access a more full picture of who we really are, and we're able to access our truest expression, our divine self. And so with that being said, you are able to access what I guess would be called maybe your higher purpose or your path of service in this lifetime. But one of the things that it might be different with me, I'm not sure from other teachers and readers, is that my philosophy is that we do have a mission. Our soul, usually before we come into this incarnation, we have a plan that we have this kind of commitment here to certain work, right? A mission, a purpose, like you say. But it's not so concrete as everybody thinks it is. And it's also very much purpose. You're here to learn and what we are here to heal. So sometimes finding your purpose might feel very sexy and alluring, where people are like, well, when I find my purpose, like all my problems are going to go away. I'm going to quit that 9-to-5 job and I'm just going to kind of like live in service, which does happen. But at the same time, part of you stepping into your purpose is also stepping into your power, which means that when you step into your power, you have to let go of a lot of things. You have to let go of conditioning and anything in your life that's blocked you. So the journey to discovering your purpose is this journey to awakening into your power and into healing anything in your life that's holding you back from living your truest expression. So it's not so seamless, and it can feel, like I said, maybe not so sexy, not so fun, because of you that you again really awaken into your truest essence. And so depending on when people come to me in a reading, they might be at a certain stage of awakening into their power and purpose. And so sometimes we cannot live in purpose when we have the block or hold us back from serving that our soul has. So I just think it's important to touch on that, and also to say that how you serve your purpose is not in one thing. It is what you do, like, every day. So it's not going to be something where you're told, like, you should just do this and then that's it, that's your purpose. I feel that it's more of an everyday act in like living in a way where we are where we expand our light and we help other people awake. That can be achieved in many different things that we do in our life.
Well, you brought up one point, and this is a topic that keeps coming up with everyone I've spoken with in all walks, whether it's a matchmaker or a coach or someone that works in the spiritual realm like yourself, is this concept of service. Now, I think that's a little bit different than this idea of purpose. Finding your purpose feels very individual, where this idea of service keeps coming up to me, where it's about, there is an individual purpose you have, but you need to use your purpose in service of others. And it sounds like that is kind of a big component of what your work is and what you do when you really tap into understand who you are on an inner level, that we're all here to serve. Is that that kind of where we're going with it?
So, yeah. So I believe that the collective purpose is to be of service. You, in very like simple terms, like you said, that every living soul's purpose is the same. It's to be of service. And then when you kind of hone in on the individual soul's purpose, maybe how they do that. And how they do that can be very unique. And how they do that is going to lean on maybe some individual qualities that they have learned through many lifetimes, where they have cultivated maybe a high sense of, working with women or working with children or caring about a certain cause. So we have these individual paths of purpose that are paths of usually are born from where we have struggled in this lifetime or many lifetimes, so that we can say, well, we have learned through our own struggles the wound that you are experiencing, and realized this, and so I want to help you. And so it's I think that to me that's like the cycle of humanity, where it's like we go through something in our life, and then usually if you talk to anyone, if they've gone through any sort of abuse, what do they want to do? They want to help the person who they walked in their shoes. So I think that that's how these paths of service are born. And even if it's not born from struggle, maybe it's just born from like an epiphany you have, like, oh my gosh, I realized this about something. It really comes down to that we are all one. So whatever it is that we, like I said, realize within ourselves, it's like inbred in us that we want to help and share. And so that it's like, don't just, make yourself in a box to think you only have one purpose, because everything that you learn, you're going to want to share and help other people learn. And so that's going to be like a multifaceted of things, because we all go through so many things in our lives. But I do find that for myself, for instance, there's like the purpose that I have, and then there's kind of like a mission that I feel that I have, which is to really help people awaken their power, which for me means awaken and expand their consciousness. And so, I think that when you start to awaken into the fact that, yes, I have a purpose, and then you take action on that, usually that will become a mission that you have in life. It's like the evolution of serving a purpose becomes a mission. And that's when I will serve in a way. way, in a bigger way, meaning going from like, I'm going to help my family to my community to, the place I live, to the world, to the collective, to the cosmos, so that's like everybody can have a mission, but it's like, how much are you going to step into your purpose? How much? And if you really take that claim, I believe like then your purpose goes into a mission, but maybe like I would say the universe.
So do you feel that this shift of consciousness that you are helping to awaken is happening now? Because I've talked about this a lot. I've talked about it with my mentor. I've talked about it with a lot of different guests as well, is that there really feels like there has been a major shift in consciousness. There's a lot more awakenings happening, especially since COVID. A lot more people are stepping into this concept of spirituality. It's a lot more popular, and I feel like it's being spoken of a lot more. So do you feel in your work that this conscious awareness has shifted?
For sure. And I mean, I think also I have seen, I guess I'm not that old, but I'm like looking back at my life, like I have seen shift, and I have also felt it within myself. Mm-hmm. So from the channeling that I do, when I first became aware of the Akashic records, I had this experience where I kind of felt like my higher self kept telling me like, open the Akashic records. And so I went online and I Googled like a prayer, and I read this prayer. It was the Linda Howe prayer. And I read this prayer, and as I was reading the prayer out loud, a voice came through me, a presence came through me, and I started to spontaneous which is the Akashic records. Mm-hmm. And so I had a very profound introduction into the Akashic records, and there is a point to this. So basically, when I started to channel this book of life, I was working with channeling, I guess they kind of called themselves like a group of ascended masters. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that they said, and this is a book that I'm writing, because they told me, get 12 notebooks. We are going to channel through you the Akashic records. And so I did that. And one of the things that they brought to my attention that they want me to share is that we are creating a new earth. Mm. And we are creating this new earth at the same time that we are here on this earth. And so as we ascend and awaken and expand our consciousness, it's actually that we're starting to operate operating in this higher awareness. We're actually co-creating like a new level of existence at the same time that we're here. So I believe like everything is happening now, but because more and more people are awakening, we're changing this planet, and we're hopefully not before it's too late, but we're possibly operating in different levels of realities. Like if you notice, like people are splitting off into timelines.
Yes.
Is the whole group of people that are like, yes, I'm going to awaken my awareness and live more consciously, and I'm going to, go this way. Mm-hmm. And so I think within that, I also think that I have noticed that there's more people who have decided to come to Earth, like souls who are like, we want to help create the new Earth, maybe souls that are that already have a more expanded consciousness, or maybe souls from even other galaxies or just exist in a higher dimension. Mm-hmm. And so I think that a lot is happening right now between like, it's not just planet Earth that's creating this new Earth. I think there's a lot of other planets that are helping us say like, the time is now. Like we've been living in duality, but I think that it's this whole unity consciousness thing that we're moving into within the new Earth.
That is really fascinating. And it's something I've actually talked with my mentor about. Sonia Choquette is my mentor. So she's very, been almost like the mother of this, bringing in the divine feminine over 40, 50 years of teaching it, and this shift in consciousness. And we've spoken about it in the fact of it's kind of like, get on board. It's like, get on board or you're going to be left behind type of thing. Like the earth is flat versus the earth is round. And this kind of like, we are shifting this into this new universe. And I love how you're saying we're creating a new earth, because it even feels like that through my children. I have two extremely young kids. I have Harper's about to be 4 and Hayden just turned 2. And I watch them, and Harper, all of a sudden, out of the blue, she is so in touch, so intuitive, starts talking about space. Like she just knows everything about it. And I turned to my husband and it's like, she knows that there's other worlds out there. We turn this off from our children. And I just love this idea of bringing in a world, and like you said, souls coming in now that are going to help us shift in this way. So I think you're right. I think a lot of children are coming in that way to teach us and help us shift. And you feel it. I don't know. When do you think this shift really happened? Do you think it started during the pandemic, or do you think it's been a slow moving wave that's happened?
I mean, I think it's been a slow moving wave, I would say more, but I think that when people experienced the pandemic and we had for reflection, I think a lot of shifts created internally for individuals, right? Mm-hmm. Where people started to have the time and the space to get in touch with their true essence and to say like, wow, I had like, this feels off, or it was time. It was, and I guess that's the beauty. That's the only beauty. I mean, other than now everyone can do Zoom, but yeah, that was a gift that we got, time to self-reflect, because we're moved, right, as a society, when we're chasing this carrot, which is what, like, to make more money, to be what, it's like, I think that's like this, it's just conditioning. It's just living like these empty lives. And I think that time of pause allowed people to self-reflect and to make the changes, things that probably catapulted people. But I have to say, like, I remember when like Oprah started her Soul series, and I just like ate every word of hers. I think I was like 17 at the time. I don't know. And, there's people like her and other people that have been just like creating these huge impacts, but you definitely see more and more people now expressing and sharing. And it's almost like this wave effect of like, mm-hmm. like I said before, the light in me is in you. And by doing that, I will inspire you to live yours. Because when I say like, we're all one, I really know that it's hard for us to understand that, but I truly believe it's one heart, one mind, one soul, and we're living individual expressions of source. And so we have like individual power, but we can never be disconnected from truly like the one purpose we have, which I said before, the and love and light. And it sounds, cheesy. I know that can sound cheesy, but it is that simple too.
Well, and I think even talking about people like Oprah and stuff, I think when you do become more aware of this world and you do start to actually open up your mind to there's a bigger purpose out there, you start to hear these messages more. And I've talked about this before, and I've noticed it a lot in anyone who has become some sort of large success or has a big platform or a big voice. If you listen to what they're saying, they all come back to they had a gut feeling, an intuition, a voice within them that was helping them move forward. And so to your point is, Oprah was an awakened soul helping usher us into this era. Now more people are open to it, and I think it's more accepted to speak about it. It's not as crazy. It's not as woo-woo. I know, but it is for some, because like you said, I think we are living on two dual realities right now. The people that are open and aware and shifting. And there's a lot of people I know in my life that just are not on board. This is just not their cup of tea. And I don't think anything you do, I don't think any evidence you give them is going to prove it to them. So doesn't matter what Joe Dispenza says. It doesn't matter what scientist comes out with proof that your intuition and your heart and your gut and all these things are working in conjunction together. So how did you, when you had your awakening, how did you learn to trust that? Because like for other people that maybe aren't totally like, yes, this is happening, or yes, I have intuition, or yes, we are one. How do they start to learn to understand that and trust it? Because like having that come in and hearing voices, I understand completely what you're saying, but for some it'd be like, okay, how do you know what you're hearing is real, or how do you trust that?
Well, my awakening, I think I was born in some way remembering, because like I communicated visits with angels, like angel visitations. I had a near-death experience when I was 8 weeks old. I almost died. And I had a near-death experience when I was 39, and I'm 44 now. The near-death experience was what completely allowed me to embody my spiritual awakening. It wasn't even a question. I understand that sometimes it's hard for people to trust their inner knowing, but I have to say, when I had that near-death experience, I had one of the things that happened with me as I left my body, and I had the whole traveling through a tunnel. Archangel Michael was one of my guides that was there with my grandmother in spirit. And at one point they told me that I was not going to die. I was going to come back, and I'm a healer, and that it's time that I kind of, I'm part of the mission to help awaken consciousness. Mm-hmm. And we all are. I'm not trying to make me sound special. We all are, but it was like, I still had stuff to do, and I was not going to die. I was going to go back. And then what happened to me was Archangel Michael said, and now, so that you can embody the omnipotent power and presence that you have, which is your unlimited possibilities and potentials existing for you at all moments. Like, this is who you are, infinite power and presence. You are going to merge with source, and you are going to become one with the source that we stem from. So I traveled in my consciousness towards a ball of light, this light that was so bright, and I became one with all. So I became one with source, and I had this divine activation. So when I went back to my physical body, I was a completely different person. I was living in a complete state of oneness and awakening. So I had no problem trusting. I was just like, this, it is what it is. Like, so it be, like, it was just like, that was who I was. And I wait for that, because what that did for me is it created no doubt, a full trusting and knowing. And so it lit a fuel to my place of embodiment. And so I think, though, that that if people are, questioning what they're experiencing, what I love now is there's so many resources that are free education that we, self-education, whether it's like books or YouTube videos or mentors or even just community, that if you start to talk to other people about what you're experiencing, you start to realize, I'm not alone, like this is happening. And it's more like when you open yourself up to a new concept, and then by doing that, you start to build evidence for that truth. So just by saying, okay, like, having experiences, let me get help, or let me just ask the universe for help. I think that I don't see it as a big block. I see it as just a journey. Like, allow yourself to go through that journey. Allow yourself to go through that journey, and maybe even facilitating your own mystical experiences where you can connect with your higher self, or you can connect with an angel, or, a higher dimensional being, because by having those experiences, they're real. They're more real for me than even just living here. So what happens is, I think that through that lived experience, it will become your new reality, and you will just trust more and trust more. So
do you think that everyone can connect to source?
Absolutely, because you are source. We are all source. That's who we are. So like when I say we're here to remember, we're here to remember our divine expression, which is a spark of source. It is like I said, it is one part of a whole that we stem from. So most people that's what ascending into the new earth is that we are, and that we can connect to our higher self and to the divine realm. And I think that, truly what has happened is that we are taken out of our power by living in this matrix world, which for me, the matrix is just conditioning. It's just like this indoctrination of like, give me your power. And this is how, society is supposed to be. And you're supposed to work 9 to 5 and kill yourself and, just chase this whatever dream. Like to me, there's this world we live in, which is outside of our truth, which is in the matrix. And then there is that awakening process of taking your power back and saying, wait a minute, I am why? Because source. They have told me for so long, religious institutions or whatever other people that I have to listen to them, or that they have the power, or that everything is outside of me, when really everything is inside of us. Everything. And so for me, when I had that complete reframe, because one of the things that Archangel Michael told me in my near-death review was that we are not defined by our thoughts and feelings. And I literally lived my whole 39 years thinking I could only be what I was thinking and feeling. If I had self-doubt, I am self-doubt. If I was afraid to do that, well, I'm not going to do it. And that's how far I can go. And that's my reality. But it was like when I understood that, yes, I'm experiencing that. It is shaping my reality, but I have another way to live. A co-creative process is accessing my higher awareness, which is the part of us that's unlimited in potential and possibility at all time. And by doing that, you become the multidimensional being that we are supposed to be, so that you can say, that's just one experience. I'm not defined by that. What else could be true? So like for me, it was just this complete, like, almost like an unraveling of literally living in the matrix versus like, oh, now I can become, a creator being, and I can start to become aware of what I'm thinking and feeling, and maybe reframe that perspective and find out, the root causes of why I'm that way. And the truth is the power of the Akashic records, because when you access the Akashic records, you're able to ask questions to the Akashic guides, to the masters and teachers, to also your higher self, to say, okay, why I'm feeling, these are my why am I feeling like that? What is that hidden root cause? Because so much of the driving force in how we live our life is hidden. It's the subconscious mind, right? That's ruling how we live. So until we make that aware, we can't change or heal what we're not aware of. And so that's how I use the Akashic records to help me live a life awakened, so that I go to my records and I help other people when I do readings, become awakened, or become those the co-creators of their life, so that they can become aware of the hidden forces that are ruling their life, that are not ruling them.
So there's two things that I wanted to ask you about that then. You said if we are not our thoughts and feelings, is there some untruth to what everyone is saying when you say, I am this, or I am that, I am smart, I am fat, I am ugly, I am beautiful, whatever your I am statement is that actually a fallacy? Because what you're saying is, I am not those thoughts. So if I am saying it out loud and I am thinking those thoughts, those actually are inaccurate. And why are we told so much to change our thoughts if they really don't have that much of an effect on who we are?
So they have a huge effect in who we are. So your thoughts become, your word becomes God in a way, right?
Okay.
So what I believe that Archangel Michael was helping me realize was that we are not defined by our thoughts and feelings, but they become our reality when we don't have a higher awareness to open our mind to say, is that my truth?
Okay.
Is that my truth? And is that supporting me? And where is that stemming from? Is that thought and feeling stemming from my inner power? Is that coming from my true essence, or is that coming from my wounded place that I believe, that I'm operating from? So it's not that they don't have power. They shape our life. It's that what we have to understand is that we have the power to shift our perspective or to awaken into our higher awareness. And by doing that, you will change your thoughts and feelings. You will change how you experience yourself within life. But we are all creating a unique sense of reality, because think about it. Everybody's reality is completely subjective.
Yeah.
And so if they say, I am, like you said, fat, I am horrible, I am whatever, they are living that reality and that is their truth. But so it's powerful. But the point is that is not necessarily all that you are. It's more about awakening into the truth of who you are. And then to take it even further, what I believe is that our thoughts and feelings are really just stemming from the perspective of how we view life. So for me, our perspective is our belief system, and it also stems from where we're operating. Are we operating in our essence, our inner power, or are we operating outside of that? Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of things that I teach about and that I talk about, which is like ways in which you can help, manifest a more abundant life. And I think that I understand like the questioning about what you said, because I have questioned that too. Like, hey, hold on. Our thoughts and feelings are super powerful. So how could we say we are not them? And I think that, again, we are who we say we are. And that in itself is powerful. So because we are these mini universes walking around, these sparks of source, I think that it's about bringing to attention to what are you creating, and how are you operating, and who are you claiming that you are? So I think that it's just about becoming aware of what you're thinking and feeling, and knowing that you have the power to change your thoughts.
So essentially, our thoughts and our feelings are creating our reality, but we need to take inventory and we need to understand where those thoughts and feelings are coming from. Because if those thoughts and feelings aren't true to us on an inner level, on our source level, on our highest level, then that's not really who we are, even if we are putting it out there. But our perception is going to be what we're saying, feeling, and thinking. So we need to take it a step back and say, does this resonate? Is this true? How does this feel with me? Am I really a horrible person? Am I really whatever good or bad thing you say? And there is no good or bad. There just is. I know that. But whatever you are saying, you do need to take stock of like, where is that coming from? Which comes back to my next question, is you keep bringing up this idea of our conditioning. Where does conditioning come from? Where does that come to play? Is it just, the conditioning from our family of origin, our parents? Is it coming from the outside world? And who gave the power to these sources that allow us to be conditioned? If we are all source, if we are all one, how did we give up this power to be conditioned in this way?
So I think that we become conditioned through, first of all, self-programming anytime we agree or even subconsciously agree that what that person said about you, or what that, media source told you about who you should be. Anytime we agree to that, even on a subconscious level, in some way we are going through like self-programming. But I kind of think, and I'm going to try to explain this because I kind of had this aha when you were talking, that it's almost like, because conditioning is, we experience conditioning in this physical reality on Earth, but I believe that there also is conditioning that can happen in other planets. And I think that anytime we are experiencing conditioning, which is learned behaviors and patterns that are not supportive of our highest expression. So anytime we are abiding by that or experiencing that or believing in that and operating like that, we are all just really, as living in that conditioned way, living outside of our source essence. If you really think about it. Because anytime we're in our center and in our power and in our source essence or divine essence, whatever word you want to call it, what that means is that we're not defined by anything. Because to me, what source is in every moment, we're just these creator beings experiencing. We're just meant to experience and create and evolve through consciousness. But when we claim a reality and truth, it can be positive, negative. It can come from a programmed, message or a program indoctrination, or it can be empowering. So I almost feel like what conditioning really is anytime you give your power away, you do yourself. Anytime you say, yes, what you said is true. Or I witnessed my mom and dad have this relationship with money. They didn't even tell me, but in the environment I lived in, I decided, yes, they're right. Money is scarce and I'm going to live this way. So conditioning, all that conditioning is like a definition in putting reality in a parameter of that it has to be this way. And all awakening is saying, I'm an infinite being, I'm an infinite creator, and I experience a myriad of realities and expressions and I just experience things over and over and over again. So I don't know if that makes sense, because in my mind it makes sense, but I'm thinking that, like, that's how I think about conditioning. And that's how I think that this state of being that Archangel Michael shared with me is truly the quantum realm. When he said, you are unlimited possibility and presence at all time, you are this infinite power, I think that that's what everyone talks about when they say that, what is the quantum realm? The quantum realm is just a point of awareness that embodies that. And in that state, anything is possible and you create what you want. So that's quantum realm, is your infinite presence as a creator, and conditioning is when you define yourself to be a certain way.
So our conditioning is almost like an unspoken, unwritten contract that we've created, or we've given over a piece of ourselves to an outside source as opposed to what is in. And when we can go up to that quantum realm, that's where we can access our higher self. That's where we can access our Akashic records. And is that where our soul lessons or our purpose or our mission is kind of stored? Is it just like this? Is it like your computer's hard drive where, you're just keeping all of the information there and it trickles down to you? Do you need to access it? Do we already innately know? Or do we need to raise ourselves up to go there and understand what we're working with?
So if I understand correctly the question, I guess what I'll say is that, because we are source, and because source is consciousness, and because consciousness is multi-layered, and within its multi-layered multi-layered and frequencies, all of that exists within us. Mm-hmm. So all knowledge and the Akashic records exist within us. So we just have that seed within us. And when we can expand our consciousness, then it's not that it's outside of us, it's inside of us. We are expanding our consciousness into a place that we can access that information that explains why we have been conditioned to think this or that. And so the Akashic records is accessed in our consciousness, and it is an imprint of, like I said, thoughts, choices, actions. So things that have happened, things that we are creating to happen, past, present. It's just a database of everything that is happening, but it also has the infinite potentials that exist for us that are our highest goals. So what's really fun to do, whether it's for yourself or someone else, is to bring to your records maybe a thought, a choice, something that you want to manifest, that you want to go down. And by bringing that into the records, you can then say, what would be my highest potential, or give me the expanded version and vision of myself within me claiming that path. So it's everything kind of you create through consciousness is how I see it, and you access through consciousness. And it's not, I don't see the records as necessarily like a physical library, but I also think that even we create through consciousness like a symbolic representation of what it is. So I've heard of people even who have had near-death experiences who, when they cross over, they can go to what they call the Hall of Records, which really does seem to be this physical place where it's many books and it has, every soul's book of life in there. Mm-hmm. But even that, I think, because everything is energy, it's just we're creating that, how that looks within our own mind. I still think that the Akashic is consciousness that lives within us.
So how do you begin to access it? If you have never done anything in this space, or if this is all new to you, how do you begin to access that inner knowing? How do you begin to access your records?
So you can access the records through awareness, intention, prayer. It is governed, meaning the information is governed by the Akashic guides. And the information is governed because the information is meant to be used for the highest good of you and all. So you will not gain information. It's not that not everyone can access it. It's that you will not gain information if it's not for the good of all. So if it's for personal gain, you won't gain access. If it's to, look into other souls' records, like your ex-boyfriend's records, or like, I know someone like, let me, you can't open other people's records without their permission. That's unethical. But I access the Akashic records through a channeled prayer that I received from the Akashic guides. I know there's other teachers who have created their own prayer. I would encourage everyone to know that as long as your intentions are in a good place, this wisdom lives and breathes in your DNA. It is who you are and how you're connected to everyone. And so more call records, because it's a really good supportive tool to be the co-creators that we are meant to be in this life, and to help our souls heal and evolve. So, but again, going back to how you open it, a prayer is usually the best place to start, because the words in the prayer give you the intention and they help you like align into the place within your mind that's going to access, so yeah. And then there's, if you're really wanting to learn it, it's a modality. Everyone teaches in a little different way. I've been told like I teach in a very different way. I think it's just about finding your teacher, maybe, reading books. There's so many ways that you can start to explore what this is. But I think the main thing that it brings up within people is, again, that questioning of like, am I hearing that right? And so what you do step into when you read your records is you becoming a divine channel, you starting to listen to your intuition, and really you're channeling energy, you're channeling enlightened beings. So that's more of the skill set where it's also about like, how do I ask questions? Like it's tools and guidelines. But I don't believe that there's anything set in stone, right? Other than you must play sacred alignment. But there's many ways, that you can access the information.
So you really can't access your own, because I find that a lot of times in work like this, it's hard sometimes to separate yourself so that you can hear what is for your highest good and not what you want to create or tell yourself is for your highest good. So how do you separate that I want to create this and I'm going to tell myself, it's this, and then you just believe it, which is great. It's great to just believe something is going to happen. A lot of times it will. But how do you separate that so that you can actually hear what is for your highest good or access source for yourself?
So what happens is that when you learn how to channel, which is what you're speaking to, because you're channeling guidance from the Akashic records, what happens is that you have to learn how to expand your awareness so that you can become an observer of your thoughts and feelings, and you can get to align to a more open awareness so that the information that you are receiving is dropped into your awareness. The minute you become an observer of your thoughts and feelings, that observer is your awareness. That's your true essence. The questioning that you do of like your thoughts and feelings is like that observer mind, and that's where we receive the information. And so a lot of the tools that I teach is like how to get out of that ego mind and into the open awareness mind, which is where you receive the intuitive guidance. And I wouldn't say it's a disconnect from like being outside of yourself. It's more of an expansion of consciousness. So for me, consciousness and awareness is the same, but that open awareness is where it's a state of alignment where you become the witness of your thoughts and feelings, and you can start to understand by becoming that witness, oh, I'm thinking and feeling this, but because I've asked the question in my records, the droplet of information that I'm receiving within my awareness, that's the channeled guidance. Now, there's also ways for you to use discernment to understand if it is your thoughts or if it is guidance. For instance, guidance is never going to be judgmental. It's never going to be like something where it's like, you should do this or you got to do this. The guidance is much more suggestive. The language and how they speak is different. It's, I would have to literally get into my whole class to teach you everything. I'm just like stopping myself. Amber, wait, hold on. This is a podcast interview. But there's many, many tools and techniques that you learn so that you know the difference. And then what happens, though, the magic of what happens is when you learn that, then in your everyday life outside of the records, then you expand your awareness. And that's when you don't become defined by your thoughts and feelings, and you start to utilize your expanded awareness and start to live from that space. So it's like you have to expand your awareness in order to channel the records. And that will have so many positive effects in your life, because living with your awareness, your higher awareness, is really just like living with your higher self. So you can notice the difference between like that lower level of awareness, the part of your mind where it's the ego mind that just says anything to keep you safe, versus the heart and the intuition, the other part of your awareness, which is your own guidance that, helps you go down this life in your, the most supportive way.
Yeah. Well, I think what you're really saying in a very simple way is that your thoughts are going to create kind of like a feeling, like more of a feeling or a judgment or pressure. There's going to be some of that feeling, almost like an anxious type of feeling, whether good anxious or bad anxious with whatever you're trying to create. Whereas you're raised, if it's coming from source, it's going to be loving. It's not going to be pushy. It's going to be soft. It's just going to be. It's kind of just going to lie there. It's not going to really bring about a big reaction one way or another. It's just going to be given.
Well, it's that the way that they operate is in a higher consciousness, and the higher consciousness is, acceptance, it's forgiveness, it's passion. So that's one way that that you're tuned in with them. But to complicate it even more, the thing is that they are dropping in guidance. And so sometimes it feels like it's our own thoughts because it's dropped into our awareness. And so that's what can get people feeling confused. And I have certain techniques that I have learned to help people with that. But I guess energetically, your thoughts are originated like from within, whereas with the records, you're getting, like I said, the information from a source of consciousness that's dropped in. I think I'll just leave it at that. But it's a lot that I can speak on, because it's not just like the one thing. It means it's a whole, learning how to channel is like, it's a philosophy. It's a modality. It's like a lot of moving parts, right, that we learn when we do that.
Well, I think at least from my experience and what I've seen and learned through different mentors and my own channeling is like, I channel when I write. That's kind of like where I can do it best, not as much as like some people can just speak and be channeling a message. But I do think we all learn in different ways. So with that said, how would someone learn from you? Where can we find your courses or work with you so that we can learn? I mean, I really feel like you have a very unique perspective and a really, really interesting way to teach. So how can we work with you?
So I've had a couple of programs, just recently with Erica. Like, for instance, I'm teaching a group online program on how to read for others. And then before that, I taught an online program on how to read for yourself. What I'm creating right now with my firm is something I'm calling a Your Light is Fearless Academy. So the name of my podcast is Your Light is Fearless. So I'm kind of going with that theme. And so in this academy, what I'm going to be teaching is how to live as co-creators and how to manifest the life of your dreams, an abundant life that is living in purpose and power. So part of that program will be learning about how to manifest in the quantum field. It will also be about learning how to access your own Akashic records. And then it will also be a lot of other things. Kind of my message that I want to share, which is how to transform our relationship with fear and take action. And so that will be the next program that I have coming this September. So if you're interested in that, you can go to my Instagram at Malibu Medium. I don't have that offering out, but I'm working on that. And then I'm also launching an advancing Akashic practice circle and mastermind. So that will be another program for those of you who are already have learned how to read the Akashic records, but want more practice and confidence before you maybe go out there and start your business, or maybe even for those who have who are already reading the Akashic records and they just want to take, kind of go deeper into the records. So I have that, and I will most likely launch another program that's maybe more strictly based on how to read the Akashic records, but I'm just kind of, trying to do, there's so many things I want to do. I try to take it one thing at a time. I am a channeled book. It's actually written. So I guess I would say stay tuned for everything that I'm trying to put out there in the world.
I love everything you're putting out there. I love everything you are teaching us. It is just really fascinating. Anytime I can dive into the subject, I'm obviously a student of it and can't get enough. So I really appreciate you taking the time. I know we had some technical difficulties getting started, and there might be some technical difficulties as we're putting this out, but there's just a wealth of information, and I really, really appreciate all you're doing and you taking the time to talk to me today. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me, Courtney.
And hopefully we will connect soon.
Definitely.
Okay. Bye. And that's it for today's Intentional Living with Courtney Myers. Thank you so much for listening. And thank you, Amber Baker, the Malibu Medium, for such a great conversation all about tapping into your Akashic records, expanding your consciousness, and learning how to co-create your reality. If you want to work with Amber, I'll put all the information of how to get in touch with her in the show notes. And as always, you can find Intentional Living with Courtney Myers and the Intentional Media family at CourtneyMyers.com. That's where you'll find everything we have upcoming, from courses to books to ghostwriting and copywriting and more. So stay tuned, check it out, and I'll talk to you next week. Bye.